Okay, so Itzhak Beery, thank you for coming. I have seen you online here and there, but never had the chance to talk. So I'm glad we finally having this opportunity. So we have a lot of things in common, and I wanted to share that with people first. So we both lived in Israel. We both had a fear of living a boring and meaningless life. We both were called into shamanism and writing, and we both were transformed by it. So I thought it would be interesting if we just talk about this and start from here and see where the conversation goes.
First of all, shalom.
Shalom.
Uh, for all of you who are listening, it's really a pleasure to meet you, Sergey. Yeah, for me, like you said, I woke up when I was, I think, 19 or 20 one day on my birthday, which is Halloween, and I got really cold sweat all over my body, and with the fear that I'm going to live a very boring life. And that really the bigger scare that I have, to live meaningless and boring and life that don't amount to it's not worth living. And I'm happy to report that my life is not boring. For some people, it might be a little too much, but I'm always looking for more excitement and more things to do. And um, I did not start it as a doing shamanic work. I started as an artist, and then I became an advertising man in New York City. I had an advertising agency for many years, and I fell into it only in my midlife crisis, which usually that's what happened uh, for many people. It's the age that in the Kabbalah is called you entering into the pardes, into the orchard of knowledge. And then as you walk into this pardes, into this dark between the trees of knowledge, you get frightened, confused, and you start to ask for the meaning of life. And the meaning of life, it is something that we need to really discover. And for me, it was probably uh, going deeper into the spiritual realm, um, and that really started me started me on reading books like that, and going into the shamanic journeys work, and going to Ecuador and doing all this plant medicine, and coming back and making a commitment. But what I wanted to tell you, Sergey, that we are both from the same Jewish tradition, that all of this work in many ways was for me as a return home, um, unbeknown to me at that time, but I know it now. Um, my great grandfather was a Kabbalistic rabbi, and he was also a healer. And so, because I was so disconnected from religion, from any kind of spiritual work, growing up in a kibbutz in Israel, I think that he tricked me into it by uh, getting me into indigenous work in Ecuador and shamanism and all that. But in a way, uh, his work was really about the fight of good and evil, how to bring light into the darkness, how to heal people who are had the darkness in them. And in many ways, I don't do exactly the same work that he did, but I think it's pretty much um, a calling from him for me to continue his work. So it's a circle, or of somehow I felt that I have an option, but I guess I'm not. I guess it's like my ancestor was already made a decision for me. And I wonder, I'm sure that's something for you too. You know? And for many of us, I think that a lot of us, the first part of our life, we are trying to define who we are independently, away from our ancestor work, from our lineage. And then we find a way to go and to reunite with that life purpose that our ancestor, in many ways, gave us. So I'm in that. That's I think that that's where I am.
It's very interesting that you're saying that because I feel the same thing. I born in Soviet Russia. I'm from Ukraine, so it's a communist regime. Religion is illegal there, like drugs. You know, so I was growing an atheist, and it's only through the plant medicine when I really found my path. Found my fate, the real fate. And it's interesting that you're saying that you have a very similar path. Kibbutz. It has that communistic flavor into it. Pretty
Well,
much.
it's the real communism.
It's actually, you know what? It's the only communism that works. I would say that.
Absolutely.
It's when we have a small community and everybody actually works. And nobody is lazy, nobody is trying to take advantage of other people. So it works on a small scale, like 300 people, something like that. But a communist for 150 million people, that is a different story. But that's aside. So we're talking about the conversion basically from atheism into spirituality. And in our case, it happened through shamanism and not through Judaism as it's our religion, but it never was mine. I never felt connected to any organized religion. I felt like my path is kind of it goes in parallel, and I just need to find that. So the medicine actually helped me to define that, as you say. What is it for me? But in your case, it's more interesting because, as you say, your grandfather was rabbi, so it's in the family line. It's something that just had to be developed. It's more like a destiny than a choice.
No, I believe that it's a destiny. But I also think that uh, I grew up in a kibbutz, and a kibbutz is a farming community. So we were very close to nature, and we celebrated the holidays of nature and the seasons and the mountains, the animals, the flowers, the trees. So it is we grew up in many ways in an indigenous shamanic community kind of thing. Uh, I mean, we didn't call it spirituality, and in the same way that many indigenous people don't call themselves spirituals. They just like working the land. They are part of the land. So I think that when we have an opportunity to go into the forest, into the jungle, and if you're going to the Andes, and we are getting in touch with philosophy of the earth, right? Which is what shamanism is. I think we feel home. And also, I just wanted to remind you and also myself that the Jewish tradition, or the Hebrew tradition, is indigenous in its core. Before it became what we call today Jewish, it was the Hebrew, the Canaan worships or practices were the practices of the earth, the practice of the earth, the moon, the sky, the sun. Everything that you can read about it in the Bible, everything that in the Bible they said not to do, that was a shamanic work. So in many ways, you and I and many people who are in the Jewish faith that are going back into the shamanic work, I mean, we actually leaving or doing what the original Jewish tradition was. And you can see that also in our Shabbat uh, ceremonies. We light candles, right? We pray over the fire. We bless the salt. We bless the challah, the bread. We eat fish. I mean, all of those elements. And if you look at the Jewish holiday, the Sukkot, we have the four plants, right? We have the palm, we have the etrog, we have the tmarim. All of that is a very, very agriculture, indigenous society. It is only when we were disconnected from the earth, from the land, we were taken away into Europe and other places like that, that we disconnected from the real spirituality of Judaism. And in Europe, it was not allowed for Jews to be connected to the earth, to own land, to work the land, to be farmers. So you can see that what I think that you and I and many people, not necessarily Jewish too, we are yearning to be connected to nature. We are yearning to connected to grow trees, food. We understand the duality of life, that everything has male, female energies, and that was the basic of the Jewish tradition. It wasn't just like one God. The word for God in Hebrew is Elohim, which is a plural. So you have a male, female gods, but right now, I mean, I basically believe that the Judaism today was hijacked by the establishment, the rabbinical establishment. So, but I think that the work we do is so important because it brings us back to the roots of the real Judaism, the real connection, the roots of all humans with the earth.
That's very interesting. I actually resonate with it a lot. I never felt connected to that organized, dogmatic narrative, that you see Judaism today or any other religion. Christianity is pretty much the same. I always felt like this was like something that was just given us instead of real thing. A real thing was taken from us, which is the connection with nature, with plants, and we were given this. It's the same thing that happens to indigenous people in South America and Mexico. Same thing. They were people of the earth, and then the Spanish came and said, "Listen, here is the God in the book," and the guys were like, "And what about all this?" you know, where this is going, And I said, "No, this is the new way. The God is in the Word." So this is when the thing went wrong here in Peru and Mexico. But from what I hear from you, it seems like same thing happened to our ancestors, And when that happened, I don't know. What do you think? Is it something goes back to Abraham? Do you think?
Well, I think it all started with the book, with the Bible, right? So you can see the struggle in the Bible that you have people who create altars. They pray for the trees, like even the language in the Hebrew, El, which is God. The other side is Elah. Elah is a tree in Hebrew, which is the goddesses. So the goddesses is in with the tree. In the Bible time, there was no synagogues. There was no house of prayers because people pray for the trees or with the trees, under every tree, right? It says in the Bible. And so there was a lot of customs you can read that was done. But in order to get power, the rabbis created the temples, and the temples become the place of power of religious and also government power. And they created in a way that everybody comes and bring food for those people. And then they disconnected the whole idea of the feminine god or the goddesses, and they forbid to the practice with the feminine energies, goddesses, was totally eliminated, and were feminine or females did not allowed to do many different things that were used to be. And if you go to, like, say, to the Amazon, which I'm more familiar with, In the Shuar or the Kichwa or the Saigopai or the other tradition like there, men and women are very much equal. And many times women hold more power than men. It was never really, the men never really took the power away from the feminine energy. And I think that part of it, I mean, I was in Brazil in the Bare tribe, that the chief are women, and the chiefry goes between mothers and daughters and granddaughters. It's all in the women line. So we were, as a whole, you can say that there's a conspiracy for male energy to subvert the feminine energy. The shamanic practice is about earth, and the earth is the feminine. And so for male, that's why they need a book. They need a proof. They need writing. They didn't need experience. They need, because men are mostly in their head. It's all about ideas and logic, and but closing the heart. The heart is what the feminine energy. And so I think that what we are experiencing, you and I and many other people around the world now, is the return to the heart, return to the feminine, to what human were designed to be. We were not designed to be just a balloon, a thinking balloon. We also have hearts. We also have feelings. We have passion, and this is So what we are teaching or experiencing, and I'm sure you had that experience with plant medicine, is the unity, the reuniting of the feminine and masculine energies to become one whole person. And one whole person it doesn't matter if you are Jewish or Christian or whatever you want to believe in. That doesn't matter, because at the end we are one entity or one animal, or that have all this capacity. And the well-being of our humanity is by reuniting the feminine and the masculine energies together, to live in harmony with nature, not to control nature. I mean, this is where we are now in many ways. The return of the feminine energies into the world, as the condor and the eagle prophecy is teaching us, that the heart in South America will meet the mind of the North, industrial North in Western society.
Well, I certainly hope it does, because we need that to happen.
Well, that's what your work, and that's my work, and many others who hear the call. The new Pachacuti, the new period of time, the correction of time, started in 1993, 95, 500 years after the killing of Atahualpa, the king of the Inca, by the Spaniard. And right after that, there was 500 years of occupation, of repression, of disconnecting the indigenous people from their roots, for massive killing of the population. Of almost 90% of South America died because of all the viruses and the systematic, brutality of the Spaniard. And so in 1995, was 500 years after that, the new Pachacuti began, where the spiritual leaders, or the people who were still practicing in hiding in the Andes and in the forest, in the jungles, they started to come out and start teaching back. But for them was also not just the teaching, but for them was also to resurrect a lot of those practices that was forbidden by the white people. by the European. So we are now witnessing an amazing time of reconnection to the roots of humanity, through the plant medicine, through the ceremonies, through all of that, is to reconnect us with Mother Earth, with Pachamama, and that is my work in many ways, is to bring that back, to reconnect people with their um, feminine feminine side, and to bring balance to that, because I think that the world really needed it. You could see in the United States now what's going on. It's that victory of Biden is really a victory of returning to kindness, to work from the heart, for caring for other people. So it's a struggle, but the New Pachacuti, the 500 years that are starting now started in 93, 5. It is only the beginning of the time, and so it takes all that years. Will be, I hope, as soon as possible. But it takes a lot of energy to change the footprints of masculine occupation and mind into a more holistic, more harmonious way of living.
Certainly, shamanism can be defined by one word as unity. It's really uniting people, and I've seen many times when I had in the ceremony Arabs, Jews, Armenians, Turks, blacks, whites. I mean, we were once it was a group like, and I thought, if we wouldn't be in the medicine right now, all sitting here by the river, happy and talking and praying in our own ways, then we will be fighting each other. It was really a group of that represented the whole conflict of the world. And with the medicine, it was just you just see beyond this illusion. You just see beyond this false division, where we have differences, cultural, and but these are not differences, are not divisions. That's the thing. That's what they're trying to deceive us with. If you're different, if you look different, or you believe differently, then that we are not one. That's just not true. You can be different. You can be black. You can be white. You can be whatever color you can be, and you can believe in different versions of divinity, but at the atomic level, we're one consciousness really that has all these manifestations. And in the medicine, you see that. You just see that we are really one on that very deep level, and all this, and everything that is beyond that is just politics. You see that,
Well, everything around beyond that is fear, and I think that we need to go back to that place of trust with Pachamama, with the earth, that the earth, the mama, uh, can give us everything. There's no scarcity. There's no need for war. There's no need to grab more than what you can eat. There's no need to go fighting for another territory or to repress other people because you're not going to have anything. There's no need for power. That is the teaching. The teaching is really that you can trust love. But that's the thing. How do you take people that for 500 years or more in the Jewish tradition is like thousands of years of learning that we are victims of fear, and show them that if they just trust love, the universe,
themselves.
themselves, the earth, they can have enough, and they can share their land with other people. They can share their food with other people. They don't need to protect and create walls around every country. That they can live with more peace and kindness. But it's in the same thing of the people who were abused. Um, you know, it takes a long time for them to relax their muscles to understand that they can trust, because they have PTSD, you know. So it is. We are now, in many ways, going through an incredible healing time. That people who are traumatized by division, by separations from the earth, by all kind of doctrines that we are better than others, that um, so all of that is coming out now to the surface, and we see it, you know, so strong. But in 5 years, if you stay here, you'll see that we're going to be in a whole different place.
Well, I'm not planning to migrate to Mars, I can tell you that. I'm the Earth man. I love Mother Earth. I'm here to stay. You know?
I'll be there with you, and we're going to celebrate in 500 years. Well, actually, it's not less. It's 475 years. So, and it's possible, you know. There's some shamans that live quite a long time now. So we can. I mean, I'm sure you know some of those people who, at least in the psychopath people, we have a person who is 110, almost 10. And the Kichwa, we have two people that I know that are over 100, and they're still functioning. They still drink. They still do the ceremonies, smoke tobaccos. They are alive and good teachers.
Wow. Well, life in the mountains is very healthy, you know. It's clean air, it's clean food, it's exercise, it's a spiritual thing. So why not to live longer? You know, you're not bombarded by chemicals and all this GMO stuff and everything, all the poison you can think of that you have in the West. So life is good up in the mountains, you know. But that's very true. The medicine, that's why I see the medicine is so, it becomes so available now because we just, it's a time that we're living in, you know. The time requires this drastic measure. The time requires awakening, and medicine is here to help. The earth is just giving this to us. Take this medicine, take that medicine, work with it, come closer, you know, shed off your fear, you know, reborn. It's like it's in the air. The messages are in the air. You can just read it from the air when you connect it, you know. And that's very important because I think this century will be really a defining time for humanity, you know, if we continue or not, or we just destroy ourselves in the process. So that's why it's so crucial to have shamanism now coming in different ways and you know and shapes and form, you know, plant medicine and different modalities, but it's all coming to pull you out of the fear matrix and bring you to the moment, to the reality. So it's all very important. And part of the reason why I started this podcast, one reason was that I had all this time at hand suddenly because you know usually we're pretty busy here, but now Peru is on a lockdown from March 16, you know. So I thought I respect time. I have a very deep connection to time. You know, my time is all I have. You know, phrases like killing time, this is poisonous to my mind. You know, it's like I use time, I love time, and I cherish time and I value time. So I need to use it well, you know. So I thought, okay, why not to do that with my time? And another reason was to try to connect people through my humble way, you know, just to connect all the authors who write about shamanism, spirituality, humanism, consciousness, you know, and have built that kind of network, you know, unofficial
Yeah,
network, people who are walking the same path using different methods, you know.
yeah. I think that this is also part of what my work is. You know, when I came back from Ecuador in 1997, I think it was, after my first ayahuasca on Natem with the Shuar people. I went on a trip with John Perkins at that time. Um, I came with a mission of helping the people of the Amazon to preserve the Amazon, but also to preserve the wisdom that they carry, the knowledge that they carry, so we can also in the West can rescue ourselves. So it's all one of those things. And one of my mission was to create, to bring the shamanic community together, because in many ways that we have so many people who are practicing shamanism and so many shamanic organizations, but they really don't talk to each other. They don't share for fear of scarcity. That if I'll share my students with you, I may not have something to eat. And so I created this website called Shaman Portal which is basically a hub, a place for people who are looking for shamanic work, and that's one way to expand the word. But also for the teachers to list their services in whatever practice you do on that site. It is to create a place where people can come and be together as a community, with sharing news, sharing workshops and teachings and articles and movies and videos and books. And I think that it is very important for all shamanic practitioners around the world to understand that shamanism is about community. And it used to be that the community was just your little community in your family or in your village or in your tribe. But now we have a global community, and it's so easily reached. And there's no need to be afraid of that somebody will take away something off you. We really need to bring all of those people who are interested in reconnecting to the earth and the teachings and the indigenous work together, because at the end we are strong with our numbers. When we are together as a strong force of change, we can tip a lot of the decision making in the world, a lot of the social trend. We can push that to a more harmonious and just world.
Yeah, I agree. It's time to build alliances. That's what I'm trying to do in my work. And obviously you have done much more with your Shaman Portal Facebook page, which has what, 35,000 people, something.
Well, we have I think it's 35. I mean, it's just like, I'm so surprised with lately there's like such a surge of people who are coming in and to learn, to see, to be involved. It is really very encouraging to see how how many people all over the world is really hungry or thirsty to be part of the global community of change. It's fantastic. I'm so, in many ways, so blessed that this page exists and offer. And the difference with us is that we in Shaman Portal we allow people to advertise or to post things that are about events that are happening in the world, not just words, not just like theoretical um, discussions, which are important, but it's more important for Western mind, to to talk about all kind of. I think it's more important for me in everything that I do is talk less and do more. Experience the world. So if you have a chance to do plant medicine in a responsible way, find a place to do that, because anything I tell you about plant medicine, I cannot really convey to you unless you try it. And the same thing with any other. If you want a moon ceremony, there's no point of talking about the value or teaching of the moon if you don't experience it. So my approach to the shamanic work is less theoretical and more experiential, which is not, it's not something unique to me. This is what indigenous work is. You know, is it go there and experience it and try it and see how it works, how it changes you. It's not about reading another book or arguing about this word or that word or keep it in your head. It's really about keeping it in your body, embody the shamanism.
Yeah.
I think that is so important. And you know, in many indigenous cultures, they say that if it doesn't grow, if the corn doesn't grow on your head, if you can't grow corn, then don't do it. So just talking about the corn is there's no meaning for that. You have to take the seeds and put it in the ground and give it water and feed it and see it grow and protect it and make it happen and then at the end eat that to feed yourself so you can do it again. It's about the experience. It's not about your thoughts. It's not about philosophy. It's about the experience, and you know, I'm sure that uh, that it is also for, you know, if you do plant medicine. One of the things that I always tell people who are I take groups to do plant medicine in the Amazon, and I prepare them to before that. But one of the things that I always tell them that it you know, you will experience many different things and you'll get a lot of different wisdom. But the proof is really in your pudding. What do you do with the messages that you receive from spirit? How do you make the world better? What do you take out of it and give it to other people, to the world? So it is always the proof. It's always the action. Because at the end, you know, shamanism is about survival. How do you keep your family and yourself and your community and the world in good shape?
And sane in our time.
Yes, but it is about manifestation. It's not about just talking. It's about doing. And many people in the West are very good at talking, but not
Yeah.
very good at doing. And so
That's,
that's one of the things that I'm always emphasizing. Show me the proof. You say that you are spiritual. Show me. What do you do? Do you feed another person? Do you volunteer? Do you create a community? You know, at the end, you know, the word shaman, I'm not talking about Page or Yachak or all the other names, Washin, you know, because every community have a different name. I'm not, what is it in Peru?
well, here it depends on the plant medicine. If you work with ayahuasca, you are ayahuasquero. If you work with huachuma, you are huachumero. If you work with the trees, you are palero. You know, it's like you are that which you work with. So we
Yes.
don't, but generally we have curandero, which is a healer.
So,
You know.
but the word shaman that came from Tungus, from Siberia, at least the way I experienced that in in when I asked a Tungus shaman what it means, he said
Mhm.
it's the keeper of the fire. So the role of the shaman is not just to give ayahuasca or just to heal or just to do a ritual or just to be spiritual or speak to the spirit and all of that. The role of the shaman is to make that the fire don't die, that
Mhm.
it's that the humanity or the well-being of his family and community is preserved. So it is about taking action to be the role model, the center of community, the pole that the community or the can trust. And so it's about taking responsibility for other people's life and in a
That's
community.
And it's a double meaning too, you know. It's keeping the fire literally, meaning keeping your family warm and fed and protected, and it's also keeping the inner fire, you know.
Yeah.
That's very much, you know, keeping that flame, divine flame within you, and you using this to heal other people with that flame, you know. It can be through inspiration, through encouragement, not necessarily through healing, actual healing, like taking some, you know, stuff out of you. That's part of it, but it can be just that. It's giving a hand, giving a spiritual hand to another person by simply encouraging, by simply bringing somebody, lifting somebody up. And that's kind of you inflame their, you fan their fire. So
That's exactly right. Absolutely. And I think that, but the problem that we have so far, I mean, I think in the West, in the United States and Europe, that people think that because that they know how to journey or how to speak to spirit or how to heal, that they call themselves shamans. And so the word, if you want to call yourself shaman, you really have to have a community. You have to be the center of community. You have to build the community and protect it. And every community have to have a shaman because that's his role. So it's a bigger role than just to give ayahuasca or just to give wachuma or God just to take people on a trip or just to do healing, or it is a incredible responsible role to keep the well-being of their community, family all together, balanced, connected to the earth, that everybody lives in harmony and peace, to avoid conflicts and wars, and make sure that people eat. You know, that's the role of the shaman.
so you went to Siberia. What was the purpose of that?
No, I did not go to Siberia. Actually, that guy from he came to here. He came to speak in the UN on Indigenous Day, and I happened to be invited to a private ceremony that he was doing in a house in New Jersey with a Russian woman. Of course, they only speak Russian, and so I needed translations, of course. It was incredibly beautiful display of Tungus shamanism and the dance and the coat, the transformation. Um, um, I mean, I wish to go one day to Siberia and to Tungus because it's one of those places that also my ancestry from Russia and stuff like that. So it calls me, but I never happened to be there. But you know, you can actually see, you know, the shaman was very elderly. I mean, I think it was like mid 70s, 80s, and he was dancing with this incredible heavy coat. You know, I think that the coat probably weighed 300 pounds or something. I was like really very. I mean, it's hard even to lift it. But this old man was just dancing with that. You know, like, you know, spirit was going through him, and there was a moment there where he transformed to a bear, to a black bear, and it was just really beautiful to see the transformation that happened with his body, and his the whole the whole bear showed up as his spirit. I never talked about this experience, but it was so beautiful to see. So I went there to actually ask him um, if his spirit, if he's embodied the spirit of the bear. And the translator, who was a professor in Moscow, he confirmed it. But so I asked him about what is the meaning the word shaman because it came from there, from Tungus.
Interesting. I never traveled to Siberia too. This is what my ancestral roots are too, but it just never happened. But what had happened is that probably 2 years ago, I had a friend here visiting, came for a retreat, and he was going after visiting us. He was going to Altai, where all the shamans are. So I told him, like, if you want, I can give you some medicine, give them to them, give it to them, tell them it's from me, it's a gift from me, and just tell the story that I'm also, from basically from that area, from Ukraine, but it's all big Soviet Russia. So here's my medicine, give it to them, and here is my prayer, my blessing into it, and report back, tell me how it was. So he went, he took, I gave him Witchmane powder. And then he reported back a few months later that they had incredible connection with the medicine, and they said that they have never experienced nature in such a deep way, you know. And these are shamans. These are Siberian shamans. These are people of the nature, of the earth. So it was just very beautiful confirmation, that that's what we're experiencing here. It's true to anyone. Whoever you are, whatever is your level of connection, you will find a deeper connection through the medicine. So that's how we connected with those guys now, through my medicine, without even knowing each other.
But don't they have also mushroom that they use, and also the fermentation of the milk?
Uh, the Amanita, it's part
Yeah.
of the shamanic tradition of Russia, and I'm sure it's somewhere there preserved, but it's not on the surface. It's not like you just going there and say, "Hey, where is the fly agaric shaman here?" That would be something more kind of deeper in the into the forest somewhere. It's because what happened is that Stalin killed all the shamans. During the 1930s, they were persecuted. They were seen as rivals to to communist ideology, and shamans were just killed, like Jews were killed by Nazi, Germany. So whoever left, I'm sure there are people who preserve the tradition, but it's harder to find. It's not like on the surface. It's not easy to go and do it. So that's why I didn't even bother, because I wanted to go in one time. I said, maybe I just go find those guys. But I was called to South America. I was, my destiny was waiting for me here. So from what I see now, it's not plant-based shaman. It's what they're practicing now. It's a different way that they're calling ancestor spirits. They're doing healings. It's different. But the plant medicine, it's not really a part of Russian shamanic tradition today in at large. But I'm sure there is. It's just something that never dies. I think it's like here. Look at this incredible suppression of shamanism in Peru or Mexico. It's incredible. It's like when you really research, you think like, how did it survive under such a pressure, such a persecution? But it did survive. It went through generation to generation, because it's just something innate. It's just something in us that it's like breathing. You got to breathe. It's the same thing. It's just you have to feel connected.
Well, part of it is that through all these 500 years, there was no hospitals, and there was no doctors, and there was no, what we call today like medical or medicine and things like that. So those people who do this work, they became curanderos, they became curanderas. So these are people who took care of the health of other people.
Yeah.
And so some of those practices were hidden and used by the curanderos to heal people, and so that's how some of it. But a lot of people throughout those 500 years, they went into cave, went into hiding, They were doing ceremonies on the mountaintop in midnight, when the Spanish could not see. Again, in Ecuador, it was only, I think, in the 1970 something that it was officially allowed for indigenous people to speak Quechua and to do the ceremonies. Um, the damage that Western civilization did to indigenous people are catastrophic in many ways. Um, in 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 so like in Siberia, there's a lot of teachings in South America that are maybe not truly indigenous. They are learning from each other, and they resurrecting many of those practices. In the Celtic tradition, for instance, everything that you talk about Celtic shamanism today is all made up. It's all relearned or resurrected. And the same thing with Tuva and in Altai and other places like that, that they took. There are some people who continue to do that, and the elder people, and a lot of new generation that practice it and invent it and develop it, and bring that old tradition. But like you said, that we I'm talking about the Western civilization, kind of disconnect that lineage, indigenous lineage, for our own control. And that's the work we do now, is to reconnect those ancestry lines, to bring back the feminine energy, to in many ways to bring harmony back to the earth.
Yeah.
Isn't that a great mission to do?
Yeah, well, I'm honored. I'm honored to be part of this, and it's transpersonal, really. It helps you in your life, definitely. It transformed my life completely. But it doesn't end there, I'm happy. I can live happily for as long as I have with at the level where I am right now, spiritually speaking. I'm fully content, have my strong connection to nature, and enough clarity to walk my path with confidence, courage, and love. But it doesn't end there. I really think that we have to do more than just helping ourselves. This is where it starts. You have to help yourself. Otherwise, how you prove that you can help? You need to show that you need to walk the talk. Show me your life. Show me what you have done with your life. Then I will follow you. You can't be a lifeguard if you don't know how to swim. So it starts there, but it goes beyond it. It's time to help others, to wake up, to heal, and to send that shockwaves into society, to hopefully reach a critical mass of awakened people in the world, to stop self-destructive processes. That's where we are, because it's like you are one with the world. It's like I'm not living on the moon. We're breathing the same air, and we walk on the same earth. So if you set a nuke in China, it will come here in a week or two. You know what I mean? So it's important to. What I'm trying to say is, like, you can't be fully happy until you see everybody else in that same state, less or more. It's like we need to affect change in the world, so we all lift each other. And then we share that. It's important. So that's the mission I see. For myself or other people who walking that path. So I want to ask you about your book. So would you
Okay.
like to share how
Which
you
book?
become a writer? The first one,
The
I
oh
think, the
the
Gift of
gift of
Shamanism.
uh-huh. Um, how did I become? So I never really believed that I can write a book or write anything, because I was more of a visual artist. But when I started to do this work, I had these experiences, and I wanted to. I was like totally surprised. I was totally elated, feared, and all that. So I decided to write them down. So I started to write these little, not little, these incidents, um, but I never felt that I could write a book because I'm not a writer, and my language is Hebrew, and I never thought I could write English. And so um, I have this collection of journey work, ayahuasca journeys, experiences, plant medicine, and other healing stories that I experienced. And so, and once I start to do that, I kind of thought that maybe I'll get somebody else to ghostwrite it for me. So I was looking for ghostwriters, somebody I can give the material and speak to them, and they will make a book out of it. But I couldn't find it. I got really frustrated about that because, um, I never thought of myself as a writer. But about 10 years ago, it's exactly 10 years ago, I discovered that I had cancer, and I thyroid cancer, not the bad ones, they say. But anyway, I went through this operation, and they took it out, and with all these doubts and all this fear of death, after I came out of it, I said, I got to do it. I got to sit down and write it because, we got one chance to be here on this earth. So I sat down and I wrote 3 books. And it all came out in a matter of like 4 years, I think, like one after the other. I was so determined to write everything I know, so I can pass it on to next generation because my teacher died also, Ipupiara, and I wanted to write. I mean, that idea that every shaman that leaves the earth lives with the encyclopedia and doesn't pass it on to other people. So I always wanted to pass it on to other people. So I sat down and I wrote these 3 books, and luckily I found a publisher. I mean, I found an agent who found a publisher, and it all came out one after the other. It was incredibly tense experience, and I got better at writing, and I'm working on 3 other books now, but I'm not. I still have some PTSD from writing because it's really, really hard work. I mean, I enjoy that, but once I'm starting to write, I'm really consumed by it. And so it was a really great process of the first, at least the first book is really a great process of rediscovering of myself. Who am I? Where I came from? How did shamanism came in? And so I wrote this, like the first chapter of that is really about more personal. And then I started to, so I divide, the first book is about visions, vision of ayahuasca, vision of shamanic journeys, vision in holograms, night visions, and all that stuff that happens. And it's really about celebration of the visionary part of shamanism, how visions from the unseen world really influence the way we live. And so I wrote it as some theoretic, some small theoretical, but mostly as a storytelling, as a here. This is what happened, and I try to describe uh, uh, as accurately as possible the exact incident. And I remember that I was so afraid that people will think that I'm a charlatan. So I sent it to a friend of mine. She's a writer, and I told her, look at the book. What do you think of that? Because I was so unsure about my writing. And she says it's fantastic. It's written well and all that, but if it really happened to you, then it's great. And of course, it did happen to me. I always tell people that I'm not that talented to lie or to make it up, because I mean, I don't need to make it up. It's just so fantastic anyway. And so the first book is about vision, and the second book was about one moment of discovery, or the eureka moment of other shamans in their life that changed their life. That moment of discovery that the world is not what we see. There is more to it. And it's a fascinating book because I mean, I collected all these stories and I edited and all that of quite well-known shamans who wrote very personal account of their awakening, which we talked about earlier, that we all feel to awaken now, but each person has it in a different way. But I think that the one thing that was so beautiful for me personally was that there was a couple of indigenous shamans who wrote about it, and one of them said that that he was really sorry that he doesn't think that he's uh, qualified for writing about that, because in their tradition, uh, every moment is a moment of awakening, and every moment is sacred. Every moment is an opportunity, and it was such an amazing teaching for me, because in the Western, especially the people who come from meditation and from the Eastern tradition, they are waiting for this enlightenment moment, and so they can wait the rest of their life to find that enlightenment. But enlightenment is in every moment, and so it is a decision you make to be enlightened in that particular moment. It's a choice. It's not. It's not if you go to the top of the mountain or you go into the depth of the Amazon, you'll find your enlightenment. You can find enlightenment sitting on your desk
Right
or
now.
in your home. And that was like a really very important uh, teaching that I learned from that book. And not that the other stories are not amazing; they are really amazing, for very beautiful and very important people, teachers now in our community. And then my third book was actually about shamanic healing. And so I took a lot of the teaching that I received from my teacher, from Don Jose Joaquin Pineda, from other shamans from the Andes in Ecuador, and people from the Amazon, the Ecuadorian Amazon, and the people from the Brazilian Amazon, the Rio Negro area, that the people that I worked with and studied with, and I put all these together as a system, so I can talk about the technique and how you do it, and then I also gave case studies or stories about healing and how do you use all of that, and it's also in the same way that I wanted to pass it on. So there's different techniques for healing, like egg healing and candle reading healing
Yeah, we
and
have it in the India still.
limpia and the whole system of limpia, which is very rarely ever been written about, and Takuma needles, which is never really been taught in our world. So it's a collection of that. But I think that the more joyful for me is really writing about the healing stories that happen using these techniques.
So what is the second book? What is the name?
Shamanic Transformations.
Mm. And what is the name of this tribe that you just described that have the Moses moment in the moment, folks? Who are these people?
Oh, I've forgotten the name of that shaman, but I think he's from Mexico, New Mexico.
From New Mexico?
No, no, from Mexico.
Oh, from Mexico. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. No, I very much resonate with that. Very much so.
Yes, because like we always wait for a
Oh,
special moment to arrive, and so we're missing the moment now.
which
And
is the moment you have. The only thing we have, the now.
well, yes, but for that you have to be connected,
Awake.
awake. Yeah, so uh, when we take people on plant medicine or trips or other things like that, we take them into it's not the place itself, although they are beautiful and all that. It is their disconnect from their previous life, so they can actually be themselves and experience the beauty or uh, independently of what they know before. And that's what makes it so powerful. But if we can also be sitting in Peru or in New York and just like accepting that this is a magical moment, a moment of full of opportunities, a teaching moment of unity, of whatever you want to call it, that is a decision that you can make yourself too. But we're always looking for somebody else to do it for us,
Yeah,
or something
exactly.
else to do it for us. You know,
Well, the,
well, you know that a lot of the DMT that we have in plant medicine, it grows independently in your brain, in your body. It's in your body. That,
you are illegal. You are Schedule 1.
but it's here. And so if you can connect that with that and encourage that and learn, I do ceremonies with Vayusa. Are you familiar with Vayusa, right?
What is this?
Vayusa is a tea. It's it's like yerba mate.
Mm-hmm.
It's a highly caffeinated and beautifully a beautiful plant from the Amazon.
From Brazil?
It's in Brazil. It's in Ecuador. I'm sure it's in Peru too.
We
Uh,
probably have a different name for that here.
well, maybe it's called Wayusa. It's tea, and I do ceremonies with that, and people have visions of that without the side effects of ayahuasca, and amazing visions because it's awakening the DMT that you already have in your brain. It allows the brain to release to see visions like that without all of the other stuff. It's also incredibly healthy tea. It's full of antioxidant and the love hormones like cacao and so it's a beautiful healthy plant. And in some of the shamans in Ecuador, in the Quechua, in the jungle, not in the highland, they use Wayusa instead of chacarona. So it has that that
Mm.
ability. But what I'm saying is that if we tap into our own DMT, if we give permission to that DMT to start working, to have a daydream, so to have that ability to transcend, um, we can be in that moments of enlightenment more often.
Yeah, the problem is that people in the West are too glued to their screens. There is
That's
not much DMT on your screen.
well, maybe there's a DMT button.
Exactly, you know. So, would you like to share the story that you have in the first book, that a seminar that you went to do in Florence that always was cancelled. I thought it was very interesting.
Yeah, but I was teaching in a monastery on one of the hills above Firenze or Florence, and so the woman who organized this workshop, she met me in the airport, and she said, instead of going straight to Firenze to have a cappuccino, we will go up to the church to check it. And so we went there, and I don't speak Italian, so I stayed outside. But a few minutes later, there was like shouts and yells and screams. And I was a little shocked, because I know Italians are very loud, but I didn't realize that loud. So I went inside, and my Alessandra, the woman who was organizing for me, she was arguing with the secretary inside, and all I could understand was Galileo Galilei. And I said, "What the hell, Galileo has to do with our workshop?" And so I just left, and then Alessandra came out and she says, "You would not believe they want to cancel our workshop." I says, "What do you mean they cancel? We paid." He says, "No. They think that we are doing the devil's work." And I says, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, they think that we are doing evil stuff because we do shamanic work." And then they started to. I said, "So what's Galileo Galilei had to do with it?" And he says, "Well, she's saying that they should have killed Galileo Galilei 500 years ago. He was a sinner, and the church was right. They shouldn't let that idea that the earth is round and not flat." So so it just show us today the amount of
Atheism.
Yeah, the Catholic Church, how strong they are, and like they there's in any event, but at the end we were allowed to do that because we already prepaid, and they could not just like throw us out. People were coming, and but it was just really showing me how deep the influence of the church. And you could see that also in South America, that a lot of the shamans today mixing Catholic idioms and saints in their work, which is totally not shamanic. And that's by the way one of the issues that when I do the Andes Summit every year in Ecuador, I bring 10 different shamans, the more powerful shamans there, to the Andes to teach and to do healing work. But one of the conflict between the shamans is that some of the shamans really using the Catholic Church symbolism in their work. And it's mostly the older ones, the elder ones, and the younger generations wants to remove them, to change that, not to use it. But there's a conflict between those people who learn it from their 500 years of repression, and those people who want now to reclaim their spirituality clear of the Catholic Church doctrines.
The syncretic tradition is strong here. You see it everywhere. It's like you see saints and they pray to saints and all that thing. It's like it's not shamanic. It's the result of the conquistadors. It's the result of being conquered, and that's something that has to be cured. and you have to return to your roots. That's how I see it. You know, I don't employ any syncretic symbolism in my work. It's purely nature, mountains, you know, just and it's not like I'm against them. No, they have their own space. They have their own right to practice their own things, you know, but it's not, it shouldn't be mixed. That's what I'm saying, you know.
That is on one hand, and then I'll tell you another story about a woman, Bibi, in like one of the tributaries of the Rio Negro, deep in the Amazon. Many years ago, we went there with Ipupiara, the shaman, and she's like really was, she's already passed away. Um, very well known woman. She was in her 80s or something, like really an elder woman. And when we went to her workroom, she had this incredible big altar, and on all the altar, you could see every religion object on her altar, and the Star of David here, the Jewish thing, and the crosses, and the this and the that, and I just got like really, and I asked her what's going on here, because I thought that I thought that she would be um, more indigenous, like more. And she looked at me and she said, "You just don't get it, right?" And I said, "What do you mean I don't get it?" And she says, "It's all the same. It's all one." So, you know, the, uh, so sometimes it doesn't really matter if they use the Christian symbols or if they use this word or that word, because it's really at the end is the experience. Uh, and for us, because we want it to be more absolute, more pure, it may feel a little strange. So I don't know. I mean, it's a big question for me. Um, should we reunite all the symbols of all religions to create a peace within them? You know, to accept them, or to fight for purity? The only thing about the purity part is that we don't know what pure is, because, as you may know, uh, every tradition, or every, even tribes in the Amazon, they adopt other people's teaching and um, tools, sometimes healing tools. So it's not necessarily exactly the way that the other generations used to do that, because they already developed something or learned something. They heard it from, like the people in the Andes. They use chunta spears, right, for healing. That chunta tree, it doesn't grow.
Yes, from the Amazon.
That's right. So why would a person in the Andes will wear feathers, right? We we don't have feathers in the Amazon, in the Andes, like parrots and all that. These come from the Amazon. So there is a synergy of different cultures already. And some people in the Amazon, they use some teachings, like, let's say, tobacco from the Andes, because tobacco doesn't grow in the Amazon. So there is a different exchange between cultures, that each of them bring different things. So I don't know who is pure. The purity part is a little difficult, but it's also bring a lot of um, conflict between shamans sometimes, because some people think that they are purer than the others, and these guys are doing it wrong. And but at the end, I think if we are to accept that all human experiences are valid and we need to honor them, um, we need to be a bit more forgiving, accepting.
I understand. I see both points. I see both sides. But I also see that nature is pure, and you just connect to this. It's a source. You connect to the source and you draw energy from that. You don't need to employ, symbolism of the religion of oppressors. That's the
But
history.
but you never know. Like maybe the symbolism came through spirit. I have no idea. Like for instance, I was doing a ceremony in Quechua in Ecuador in the jungle there, and I had a very pudding-like plant medicine. It was very sweet and thick, um, like honey. That plant.
Ayahuasca honey?
But it was very, very strong, and I was seeing thing, and on the top of that thing that I was seeing a crown, very distinct shape of a crown of on the top. And a day later, we went visiting a hieroglyphic rock nearby, and the same symbol was there, engraved on that rock. And so it could be that I was just experiencing visions, or it could be that symbol of that crown that was engraved in a stone for thousands of years there was real. So maybe it was brought from, like they said, it came from the stars. We don't know, but it could be that any of those saint or any kind of symbolism that came from the Catholic Church which is, I'm not talking about the church itself, but some of the symbolism and some of that is also part of the whole big plan. So we don't know.
I definitely can say that I've heard angelic voices during ayahuasca ceremonies in the Amazon. That just happened, and that made me think too, it's like that's how it came through while in the medicine and when I was witnessing this, that these were the words. These are the angelic voices, they truly were. It's like it's nothing like I have ever heard, because the shaman was singing. That was like a completely different thing. His voice was remind me like a drunk guy, like sitting somewhere and mumbling, in comparison of those voices. So we don't know. I agree with that.
You never know. I mean,
You don't know what's there really.
well, in this particular experience that I had there, it was clear to me that they were taking me there. They were showing me that, in the Kabbalah, it's called the crown.
Yeah.
Which is God.
Yeah.
So, but that exactly, I have a picture of that. That crown itself, he was already engraved in a stone in the next village there.
Mm-hmm. That's powerful.
Yeah. So, it's hard to know. Why did they show it to me? Why did I have to have that? Why did we went to visit that rock at that time, and like seeing that, and so we have to accept that the world is truly an amazing,
Yeah.
unknown. Um, and I think that I always tell people that when I work with them is that human being senses are very limited. We hardly see, we hardly hear, we
Hardly
hardly taste. All our five senses are incredibly limited compared to other animals, to other beings. And so it also gave us the sixth sense, which is the sense that we can uh, project, or we can learn to use the sixth sense, or the sense of knowing, or the sense of intuition, which is a very important. And all of those senses are all about survival. We have to have all of those senses so we can smell, touch, feel, project, dream, to keep ourselves safe. There's nothing more than that. It's so that ability to live in our fullness of the sensual, in the limited experience of our sensual. And so our role is really to expand our senses, to be able to see even deeper into the unknown, unseen world. And I truly believe that this unseen world, it's not that it's unseen, it's there. Is that we are incapable of seeing it in the way that our eyes or our brain process it. But it's there. I know it's there because why do I see holograms? Why do I see spirit? Why do I see evil spirit? I mean, I see them. I know they are there. And I can verify by talking to people who, I do healing with, that it is true that this is their grandmother. This is how she used to dress. This is how she looks. I can see them. And so it's not that it's not something special. It's that we have a very limited way of seeing. And we have to understand that we are incapable of, not incapable, we have to develop that idea that the world is bigger and larger than what we are with our limited senses can experience.
Well, Huxley was calling it a brain valve, that actually it's a filter that keeps the brain in a certain perception. It keeps us from overwhelming information. It just keeps you. It just gives you enough to cross the road without getting hit by a car. So the medicine is that it's just opening that valve. It's kind of readjusting that filter, so you can receive more, you can accept more, you can see more.
Well, I think that that's the gift of the shamanic work today, and also the plant medicine, because it allow people to not just talk about it or pray for it or whatever. It's just to really experience that.
Yeah, Spinner is more. It's very true.
Yeah.
So, what's next for you?
What next for me? I'm not sure. I always trust that I would be led to the next thing. And as we started the conversation, I'm terrified of living life, boring life. So I hope that it will be something with challenge and danger and exciting. I mean, I always tell people that if you're not afraid of doing something, that it means that you don't need to do that. Because what you want to do is something that is you're really afraid of doing. That's a challenge. So I was incredibly fearful of writing these books. I mean, I was terrified. I was traumatized. I was like, I thought it would be uh, and then I went through that in spite of that fear. And I was really afraid of talking in like what we do now. I was like, all these webinars and all of that teachings, it's like I was terrified. And then I went ahead and I did it. So every time I'm looking for another challenge to expand, to so and at the end, I think all of it is about service to to community, to people, to the earth, and to feel that I'm when I gone from here, I could leave something that is better than what I found it.
You know, I'm in the same way. I go where my fear is. I'm facing my fear. I feel like I'm growing through it. You know, if I'm afraid to talk in person, well, that's exactly what I'm going to do. You know, if I'm afraid of writing, well, be sure more books are coming. You know, that it's just a way of growing. It's a spiritual growth. You know.
Well, that's what defined as shamanic warrior. So the shamanic warrior is a person that not succumb to the fear, is acknowledging the fear and
You're moving
understanding
through it.
and understanding what the fear come from, what its trigger, where the trauma, where what this issue came from, and then go ahead and do it in spite of it. If it's for the good of society, if it's a good for the family, I think that is important. That if you see that there's something for you, but you're fulfilling your mission, going through that fear, then it's good.
Yes, of course. It has to be meaningful. I mean, if you walk in the mountain and you're afraid to jump, that doesn't mean you should, you know? Obviously. Well,
Well,
anything else you want to say? Sorry?
I want to thank you for the time we spent together, and also for your work and for your book. And I hope it's going to be successful and reaching out for people and speak to them, because it's this is a sacred work we do, and not just because of our ego, but mostly because we need the numbers. We need to tip the culture from slipping into chaos and into destruction. And I hope that by listening to that, and for your work and my work, is that people will understand that we cannot cut the branch that we are sitting on. We have to listen to the indigenous world.
You know, talking about this story in Florence that you were called Galileo, you know, doing the devil's work. That was a funny moment in the book. But you know, it's interesting that people really don't understand that they sign a contract with devil. They, when they actually give up on magic, when they start to believe in magic and embrace cultural materialism, this is when you sign the culture with I mean the contract with devil, and that's including also ideologies.
But you have to understand that devil work only can be done when people are afraid, when people carry fear. Because if you don't carry fear, the devil have no influence on you.
Immune. It's your immunity.
So the whole idea here is to create love and to create safety and security and harmony for people, so they do not succumb to fear. The minute
Exactly.
that you are able to, the minute you are able, like the church and like other religions that created that idea that you're going to hell, that you're going to burn in hell. Who wants to burn in hell? So that's the way you control. When they say that you are sinning because you have sex, or because you're thinking different thoughts, then they have control over you. So the devil the devil works is because they are afraid of the church, and they're afraid to lose their status in the society. One connection to that, I was teaching there a group of people in Firenze too. That was the um, young president uh, business group, and they got really, really excited about the whole idea of power animals and spirit and shamanism, and how you can bring teaching into shamanic visioning into business work. And then they set up to do a different retreat with all their families, so we can all work together on shamanism. And then a month or two later, I got a call that is all canceled, because one of so the people who participated in that teaching were young people who are owning businesses in Florence, and you know Florence is a 7 families basically that owns the Renaissance. From the Renaissance, they own the city. And so one of those people who are incredibly rich and very well connected spoke to his priest about that work. And the priest said, if you do that, we're going to have to excommunicate you. And so from all this enthusiasm, from all those people who, you know, one of them is owning, like at that time she owned 32 different hotels around the world, and she wanted me to go into all the hotel and work with the management. And she really understood the value of that. But, you know, once the church put a cross on it and said, we're going to excommunicate you from the society in Firenze, then it's all died. So the fear of the authority is what we need to really heal.
Yeah, it's a fear base. It's a fear-based rejection, you know.
So shamanism is the antidote for that. It's the ability for us to reconnect with love, reconnect with the goodness, the wholeness, the harmony of the world, of the feminine energy.
Exactly. Well, I think it's a very good way to end our conversation for today. I just want to say thank you for taking the time to talk today, and also thank you for reviewing my book.
You're welcome.
You know, the review came later, so the book was published, but it's still on my Amazon page, and when I will publish with the publisher, it will be included.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time together.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.